This is Matthew McConaughey.
Natalie Portman.
James Patterson.
Michael Ian Black.
And you are listening to
Five Questions
with Dan
Schawbel.
David and Jerry, welcome to Five Questions.
Hey, that was your first question.
No, it wasn't, but this is the first
question.
time. This is the first time I think I've ever interviewed two brothers, so it's already been interesting, even on the pre-interview. So really happy to have you here. I want to start off with, growing up, you were both able to create your own theater. How did that lead to your first film?
Well, we created Kentucky Fried Theater on the campus of UW in Madison. And we just remodeled the back of a bookstore, and we borrowed some videotape equipment. At the time, that was pretty rare. There was no video available, but Sony made some of their first video equipment in around 1968. We got it in 1971. And so we did a combination video show. We did spoofs of TV commercials and live. We did improvisations and set sketches. And that's how we started off. I mean, we did what we were able to do. And that takes care of the fifth question too, is what advice we would give.
Yeah. So
now there's three questions left then?
Not quite, but yeah, I think it's actually really interesting that you did that. Like, I've talked to a lot of people in the industry, and I think it takes a little bit more effort and investment to be able to create your own theater, to then, start your own movie and productions, and then that leading into everything you've accomplished since.
Well, it took step by step. That's what Jerry would have said to that.
It was step by step, but that was our whole thing, and I don't think we thought that much about it, but was to be in control of what we were doing. And when we got to LA and we did a few things on television, and we didn't like it because we weren't in control of it. Some other guy was directing it, and he'd just take a quick look, and also, well, it ate up material much too fast. But we were fortunate in that obviously when you make a deal with the studio, they're in control of budget and casting. I mean, to some, it's all a compromise, I guess is what I mean. But we really got to do our humor the way we wanted to, and that was really important to us because our humor is just a little bit different.
The word control seems to be a luxury. It seems like where you started is where people want to end in the business, which I think is really cool. What makes you collaborate effectively on movie projects together, or any projects? And how do you draw the line between being brothers and collaborators?
Well, I think we did well because we never ascribed any value to who authored what joke. It was always a collaboration between, not only the brothers, but our partner, Jim Abrams, and that made it a 2 out of 3. So we didn't have any arguments. And the one guy would respect the other two guys' opinion if they were outvoted. But we even had something for that, which we called screaming and yelling. And we talk about this in the book, that one guy could make a definite point, even though he was outvoted, and the other two guys had to listen. And I think we all respected that.
And as far as being brothers, I think it was a relationship that started when we were very young and just continued. We'd always make jokes together. We also invented games. Wisconsin in the winter, if we find a couple, balls or a hoop or a bowling pin, a toy,
or even folded socks.
Yes, that's right. We would fold socks and have this. We invented this whole game. So it was a relation. And then at University of Wisconsin, we made some short films together and stuff. But it was just a collaboration that really didn't change that much. We were just in a different medium. And then, of course, when we hooked up with Jim, it was great because, as David said, 3 is the right number, as opposed to either any odd number, 1, 3, 5, 7. People could direct a film. I'm not sure about any.
Well, it seems really smart with the majority, right? And
Yeah.
you both argue you have that third person, and
Yeah.
and obviously organically, everything, obviously, you probably didn't get along 24/7, right? But at the same time, like organically, to be able to go from brothers and to make each other laugh and to tell jokes, to then kind of leverage that chemistry and those ideas and jokes into productions made a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, we were such a tight unit. I mean, we would argue, but we had such respect for each other that if I lost an argument to David and Jim, I would really feel pretty confident that I was wrong.
That's trust.
Yeah, that's trust. And it was never like, oh, those guys are ganging up against me, or therefore, I mean, we just, it was a great friendship and trust.
Now, speaking about your new book, what were the biggest obstacles when you were developing your hit movie Airplane, and how did you overcome them?
Well, the biggest obstacle was just getting a studio to back it. I mean, that was, John Landis always told us, making the movie is fun. It's trying to get the financing that's the horrible, excruciating, problem. So for both Kentucky Fried Movie and Airplane, making the movie went relatively smoothly. And with Airplane, we wrote the first version in 1975, couldn't get financing. John Landis came to see our show, said, why don't you do a movie of the show? We did that. And then, surprisingly enough, a lot of the things that happened to us that seemed bad at the time, like the first Airplane script, we couldn't get it made. We needed to direct it, and we didn't know how to direct. And we were able to sit on the set with John Landis on Kentucky Fried Movie. We learned from him what was involved in directing. And so after that, we rewrote the script to Airplane. It was much better. And then we took it around to studios. Again, it was turned down by every studio. Our whole career hung by a thread. It was one guy named Michael Eisner, who was the president of Paramount, who said, well, this has possibilities, even if he thought maybe that this was Animal House and an Airplane. I don't know if he even knew the fine points of how we were going to go about parodying in this particular movie. But he said yes, and we were at Paramount. And then he let us direct. So there were a lot of things that were very fortunate. And then he assigned Howard Koch to us as executive producer, and he turned out to be a help.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to, getting a book deal. Every book behind me was rejected by every publisher besides one. And while I say that was the hardest part, is actually most authors would say the most annoying / hardest part is doing the enormous amounts of marketing and PR for the book, which doesn't really stop after 1 week. As you said early on before we started talking for this podcast, you get exhausted.
Right. And Jerry and I have read those books behind you, and they probably should have been rejected.
Oh, thanks.
Don't you think, Jerry? Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about any of them.
Not impressive. But go ahead. What's the next question?
Why do you think Airplane is able to appeal to new generations after 4 decades?
Probably because it's not a satire of current events or about the way things were at a certain time. It's a parody of a style of acting that really hasn't gone away. I mean, it's that really intense, take yourself really seriously, heavy drama. It was much more pronounced probably in the 50s, and that's really what we had in our minds. But nothing has changed. I mean, if you're going to act, you have to take the situation seriously, and people still do. And it's so I think that essential thing has not changed, whereas a lot of movies that are more in the zeitgeist of the time, may lose something over the years.
That makes sense. And I was also thinking it's probably influenced a lot of the movies we see today, and thus that style still resonates and works.
I think, even today, you have movies like Top Gun Maverick. It's a great movie, but it still has that very serious, hard-hitting tone to it. Although in that movie, they do some wonderful jokes. I mean, this makes you laugh, which is amazing. It's not like completely dry serious. So, but there's enough serious movies out that, there's plenty to spoof.
And what's your best piece of career advice?
All right. My best piece of career advice would be just be as lucky as you possibly can.
Yeah, it's all luck.
Sure.
Yeah.
Really work hard at that, and eventually things will work out. No, I would say that certainly in movies, I assume that's the career advice that you were talking about. Just always be doing it. Don't spend that much time trying to figure out how you're going to make it, or getting friendly with this studio presenter. Just go out and make little films, even 3-minute films, and show them to people. Because the other thing to remember that I think is really important is it's not about you and what you're going to be, how you're going to be considered when you make this great movie. You only make a great movie if you're trying to please an audience, if you're trying to entertain people, whether it's make them laugh or cry or scare them or something profound. But, be the audience. We always, when we made movies, we always thought, boy, wait till the audience sees this. We were so excited about a certain joke or a tone, or certainly an Airplane, which was the first that had that. Really, we thought, man, wait till people see this. They've never seen anything like Leslie Nielsen. But it was all about the audience. It was all about the laugh we were going to get, and not how great we were going to become, or that we didn't really care that much about being a director. We never had those ambitions, really, and it was more out of self-defense, I think. And once again, it was about making people laugh. So I think it's I think there are some people that can do well just by being great shooters, and there's not that there's not a use for that, but I think it's maybe also good to have something to say, and certainly that was our way in.
Is it?
It's your turn.
What I would say is, number one, have a brother. If you don't have a brother, you don't. I would quit, not even do it, because Jerry did all the work. So I was just able to kind of coast. But
I think you have to have me as a brother.
That's right. I mean, I don't know if Jerry Zucker is available now for everyone. I mean, you're kind of putting yourself out there, but if that's what you want to do, that's But I want people to take my example from the book. You can read the book, and my example is, I don't think I dealt with disappointment very well. I was the one, and Jerry and Jim are, in the book, are kind of kidding me. Every big reversal, I took the hardest. And that I think what I learned from all this was that, a lot of times things work out for the best. So when we were not able to get financing for that first version of the Airplane script, that was a good thing. It was, I hated that because I didn't want to go back to doing the theater. And then it turned out that was the right thing to have happened. So I think you have to kind of ride the waves And
Well, it's like it's in the moment versus hindsight, right? In the moment,
Right.
you feel terrible, you feel rejected. It's, you know, very hard to
Exactly.
pick yourself up. In hindsight, it's like, oh, well, if that didn't happen, then this other thing wouldn't have happened. That would have been better.
Yeah. And go ahead, Jerry.
I just say when we left Milwaukee, one of the things our dad said to us was, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah. And another lesson for me, who had no patience. I wanted to do movies, the second year we were out there.
But as you both said, it's, step by step. And so thank you so much for being on the show. This was great advice, and I'm sure everyone's going to learn a lot.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dad. This has been fun. Thanks.